This segment is sponsored by Boer Insurance Group. The insurance twins from Boer are back with more great advice for taking care of the things that matter to you. When it comes to insurance, the goal is to have the right coverage at an appropriate rate. Derek and Brian Boer are here to help us sort that out. And it is good to see you guys. I'm guessing a lot of us just go ahead and write that check on a monthly or quarterly basis. We pay the premiums, hoping we have the right coverage at a fair rate. How do we know for sure?
That's a great question, Catherine. And we call that the cross the fingers and hope for the best approach. And you're right. We all want to make sure that we have the right coverage in place and that it's also at a fair premium. And in today's environment, it's become so much more of an art than a science because insurance has become so much more complicated. There are additional coverage options. There are different requirements, different choices to make as a family or as an individual. And so we think it's important to work with someone who has an idea of what is out there. Is it company A? Is it company B? Is it company C? How do they line up for me and for the coverages that I'm looking for? Because it's all relative. It depends on what you need to have. And then where am I going to find that to make the most sense for the long term going forward?
So have you found there is any one best insurance company out there?
You're not often going to find that there's one best insurance company for all of us. And most insurance companies these days, they target a specific type of clientele. They're not trying to be the mass provider for everybody under the sun, because that's just spreading their marketing dollars and spreading their expenses way too wide. They're looking more for a specific type of client. So what we like to do is work with someone to understand how each insurance company is going to be looking for this individual. Maybe it's great, maybe it's not, but we're going to be able to then find the right one for that individual based on their own specifics and based on what coverage we need to have in place for that person.
Okay, so if insurance companies use certain criteria to develop their rates, what has the biggest impact on our insurance rates?
Yeah, that's a good question, Catherine. And the answer is two things primarily. Number one will not surprise you, and that's someone's claims history. Have they filed a lot of claims this year, last year, the year before? That's certainly going to determine what their insurance premiums are going to look like. Number two is a little bit less known and maybe not quite as obvious, and that's someone's insurance score, which is simply insurance lingo for a credit score. A lot of people will be surprised to find out that their credit score really has a large impact on the cost of their insurance. So our advice for a lot of people is to manage their credit score to help manage their insurance premiums. And they can do that by paying bills on time, paying down debt, and just staying on top of their finances.
Okay, you mentioned claims, and I've often wondered this when I'm in a position to have to file a claim. Am I better off paying this out of pocket, or do I file the claim? How do you know what's right?
That's a really tough question, and it's also a sensitive issue. We all pay for insurance so that we can use it when we need to. But at the same time, most of us are concerned about keeping our insurance costs manageable over the long term. And for that to take place, people need to decide which claims are worth filing and which ones aren't. And in most instances, it's pretty obvious that something should be paid out of pocket or it should be submitted to the insurance company as a claim, but there's certainly a gray area somewhere between maybe $500 and $1,500 where you could go either way. So what we'll typically do is we'll look at that person's claims history. Again, do they have a history of filing claims or have they not had a claim for 20 years? And then we're also going to look at the deductible and what we're actually going to net, what we're going to put back in the pocket by filing that claim. So again, like Brian mentioned earlier, it's a little bit more of an art than a science these days because things change so much, but you can take a look at the whole picture and decide whether or not something should be paid out of pocket or submitted to the insurance company.
Yeah, all right. Some folks may be hearing this and thinking, boy, I better get a second opinion on my insurance coverage and rates, etc. And if you'd like a second opinion on your insurance, check out boerinsurance.com or call the number. Phone number's right there on the screen. You can also find them on Facebook. Thanks to both of you. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Catherine.
You too, Catherine.